If you've been paying attention to baseball during the month of May, you're probably just as shocked as everyone else at the sudden emergence of Rangers outfielder Adolis Garcia. After collecting just 2 hits over 3 seasons from 2018 to 2020 in very limited appearances with the Cardinals and Rangers, Garcia has gotten regular playing time in the Rangers outfield in 2021 and has taken the opportunity and run with it. Most of his success has come within this last month of May, where he has hit 11 home runs in 99 plate appearances, slugged .691, and posted a WRC plus of 187, shooting into the top 10 in B-WAR among all position players in 2021. At the time I'm recording this, Garcia is tied with Toronto's Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for the MLB lead with 16 home runs. Garcia also plays good defense, collecting +4 defensive runs saved, and has a 1.1 ultimate zone rating this year, and he also runs well, having stolen 5 bases. Today I'll be analyzing Adolis Garcia's breakout 2021 season, why he is having success out of nowhere, and whether I think he can sustain it for the rest of the season. The first and maybe most notable thing about Garcia is his BABIP, or batting average on balls in play. With someone who has been way overperforming their expectations, one of the first stats to look at is BABIP, because it's a good indicator of how lucky a player is getting. Usually, if someone is off to a hot start like Garcia, you'll see a BABIP somewhere maybe in the 360s, and you can expect that that player will regress to the mean as the season progresses. However, Garcia's BABIP numbers will probably shock you. Adolis Garcia's BABIP in 2021 isn't even top 5 on his own team. His is sitting at .313 on the season, which is right where you'd expect for someone who's a top offensive player. Even crazier is how Garcia is able to produce even when he's getting unlucky. Over his last 14 games, Garcia has a BABIP of just .250, but his OPS during that span is .987. Now it is worth noting that BABIP specifically excludes home runs, which is a big factor in Garcia's game, but as long as the power stays, Garcia should be able to produce even without batted ball luck. The next factor I'll be looking at to determine if Garcia can keep up the pace is quality of contact. Adolis' average exit velocity this season is 93.2 miles per hour, which is 96th percentile among all of baseball. His hard hit percentage, which is the percent of balls in play hit 95 miles an hour or higher, is 53.6%, which is in the 95th percentile. A barrel is a more advanced version of a hard hit, where a ball needs to be hit with a high enough exit velocity and within a certain launch angle to qualify as a barrel. Garcia's barrel rate is 99th percentile in all of baseball, so clearly Garcia is hitting the ball about as hard as anyone in the league, which means he isn't getting lucky, and as long as he continues smoking the ball, he will keep up these numbers. For those who prefer the more standard eye test, one thing I like about Garcia's season is that he is hitting the ball to the opposite field. 6 out of his 16 home runs have been hit oppo, which means his swing is sound and he's able to drive all pitches of all types with power. While we're talking about percentiles with Garcia, it's also worth noting that he is in the 80th percentile in sprint speed, 89th in outfielder jump, and 96th in outs above average, proving that he is an elite defender as well as an offensive powerhouse. The last metric we can look at to determine Garcia's success is expected stats. Expected stats use factors like launch angle and exit velo to determine what the hitter's stats should be, and you can compare these stats to the player's actual stats to see if the player is getting lucky. This is the first place we can see that Garcia might be getting a little lucky, but with how torrid this month of May has been for him, it would be hard to expect him to keep up these stats for an extended period of time. Garcia's expected batting average is .273 compared to his .288 batting average, and his expected slugging percentage is .579, 40 points worse than his .619 slugging on the season. So while his actual numbers are a few notches above his expected numbers, his X stats are still really good, specifically his expected slugging, which is in the 95th percentile in baseball. So even if he regresses to his mean is still elite. For those who like the more advanced stats, Garcia is overperforming his expected WOBA, or weighted on-base average, by 16 points, but his expected WOBA is still just outside the top 10%. So while Garcia's expected numbers prove that he has gotten a little bit of batted ball luck to go his way this season, as long as he keeps hitting the ball the same way, he will still put up elite numbers, even if he stops overperforming his expected stats. So now that we've analyzed Garcia's numbers and proved that this hot start is not just a fluke, I want to take a look at why Garcia is suddenly having success. I've come up with two reasons as to why Garcia is having so much success. One would be mechanical adjustments, and one is his approach. Let's start with the mechanics. Right now you're seeing Garcia's 2018 swings with the Cardinals on the left, and his 2021 swings with the Rangers on the right. The biggest change I see in Garcia's mechanics are the way that he loads. In 2018, you can see that Garcia does a late toe tap, while this year he has adopted a leg kick that he starts very early. Another difference is the angle in his back. With St. Louis, Garcia stood upright and didn't angle his back to swing until very late in the pitcher's delivery. In Texas, Garcia is angling his back and setting his hands back at the same time as his leg kick. Garcia's early load this year is allowing him to not be caught off guard or have to rush with a change of speed from the pitcher. And it also enables his body to be very quiet while the ball is en route to the plate, so he can focus on hitting it instead of also having to worry about his load at the same time. As a result, Garcia is able to be short and compact to the baseball, and this clip from MLB Network shows this very well.
Kind of like Mike Trout, they hit with their core and kind of finish real quick. It's not that big free and easy Tatis finish. Now, I wanted to take a look at, because he was up with the Cardinals. He hit $1.18 with the Cardinals in 2018. Run these back. Watch how confident, first off, the body type's changed, okay? Look at the size of his quads in this one compared to that one. And he finishes the swing, gets a little bit more ride in his legs, confident, playing every day. This is a backup outfielder trying to fight for a position, worried about result more than process. I've been there.
And the other factor contributing to Adolis Garcia's success this year, which I mentioned earlier and which Mark DeRosa just hinted at, is his approach at the plate. Now, obviously, there is no StatCast data in the minors, and Garcia had very limited MLB appearances before this year, but I think there are some trends in Garcia's approach that stand out from the rest of the league. First off, he's a very aggressive hitter. Obviously, this leads to him having less than ideal strikeout and walk percentages, and his chase rate is actually in the bottom 3% of all of baseball. But it also means that when a pitcher leaves a mistake pitch in the zone, Garcia is not afraid to crush it. Garcia is a great fastball hitter, slugging .738 against fastballs this year. But he can also handle the breaking ball, as he is slugging a .636 against breaking pitches, and his whiff percentage is actually lower on breaking balls than on fastballs. Another facet of Garcia's approach is that he's looking to hit the ball in the air. Launch angle is a very controversial stat in the baseball world, as an emphasis on launch angle can either help or hurt depending on each individual hitter. But with someone like Garcia, who is strong and hits the ball very hard, he's definitely someone who benefits from the launch angle revolution. Garcia's average launch angle this year is 15.6 degrees, compared to 12.1 for the rest of the league. And it is clearly benefiting him, as we have seen throughout this season. So an aggressive fly ball approach for a player who can hit both fastballs and breaking balls has led to Adolis being more confident and turning into an absolute monster at the dish. Now that we've broken down Garcia's numbers, I think it's pretty clear that Garcia is not going to be the next Aristides Aquino. Adolis will probably be in Coors Field this July in some form, whether that be in the Home Run Derby or as an All-Star, or very likely both. But more importantly, I think that we are watching the emergence of a superstar in this league for years to come before our very eyes. And that about wraps up this analysis of Adolis Garcia's hot start. It has been almost a year since I last made a real-life baseball analysis video, at least one that's not about the Cubs. I've been saying that I want to make more of these kinds of videos, but I just haven't had that time. But now that school is pretty much done, I can hopefully start making more of these on somewhat of a regular basis. I hope you guys enjoy watching this, and if you have suggestions for other MLB topics that I should cover, feel free to leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching to the end, and I will see you guys later.